Issue 3, Republicans and Democrats will both support Bitcoin. Here's why. A great new article from Pete Rizzo talks about how both Republicans and Democrats will get behind Bitcoin because Bitcoin creates jobs. As we've seen, the entire financial Bitcoin era has been created, all kinds of different exchanges and products and cryptos and all kinds of things, showing us that Bitcoin is good because it creates jobs. Joshua Shigala, do you think that both Republicans and Democrats will support Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing was that it's taken this long for them to get it. And by this stage, they've all got some Bitcoin. And this was always the plan, in my head was like, get as many politicians as possible to invest in this stuff. Just like property, right? Where they're all invested in real estate, a lot of politicians. So anything to do with real estate, they try to keep passing laws that will keep propping up bubbles. No matter how big the bubble gets, they've got a new homeowners grant. If you haven't bought a house and you're outpriced from the market, we will give you $20,000, like in Australia, or $40,000 to buy a new home, but it has to be a new home, and all this sort of. And I think this is the sort of thing that happens when politicians are actually invested in stuff. The greed and the takes over, and it's kind of a semi type of corruption almost, where they're like, yeah, we should let this Bitcoin thing pass because it looks kind of interesting. Really, they've got some sats stacked up themselves.
Well, both sides can certainly use it for fundraising it. Juan Galt, will both sides support Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should, and I think we should be careful to make Bitcoin become a partisan issue. That would not be good for anybody involved. Bitcoin obviously doesn't care who you are, where you're from, your name, your color, your birth date, your age, your gender. Like, Bitcoin really doesn't care. It can't care. It can't see that, and that's why it's good. And so yeah, people should recognize that at every step of the spectrum. This isn't a left-right issue. It's a authoritarian versus libertarian issue fundamentally, or in a sense, it's a freedom of choice and freedom to organize with your community as you wish versus the latter. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more sort of left left-wing leaders kind of recognize it. I think it is happening. There's a lot of Democrats. There's a few Democrats that are sort of picking it up too. So yeah, that's my take on it. It shouldn't be partisan.
Dan, Eve.
Yeah, definitely. Like, politicizing it makes it like poo, right? Because then people they get fixated on the political side of it. Kind of like, let's be honest, like the fact that in the truckers thing was, it brought up right wing. It was like Tucker Carlson mentioned it, therefore it's evil. Rather than saying the reasons behind it and the reasons why this independent fundraising that goes straight to the people and that bypasses the censorship of a company shutting it down or providing their own opinion. So I think that's it benefits everyone, right? Because you look at something objectively without having the poison of politics making you think otherwise and try and justify for whatever confirmation bias reasons you have the reason why you should hate it. Let's just hope that a lot of because at the moment it does seem like from the Democrat side they're really not liking the environmental side. You've got people like esteemed Chief Indian Elizabeth Warren, who's very much against against Bitcoin from an environmental perspective. Obviously she's very well followed on social media, so a lot of people are automatically taking that side that Bitcoin is bad, and therefore it's a Democrat thing saying that Bitcoin is bad. You've got people, as soon as Trump says anything positive about it, or Melania says anything positive, you then go, oh, but with the right wing, the extreme right, the fascists. So it just poisons the well, right? Rather than people thinking about how Bitcoin isn't a political tool and doesn't care, it's an open source apolitical tool that doesn't care about who holds it, who has it, who yields it. Maybe they should give some to Nancy Pelosi, because then it will make her portfolio even better, and then the Democrats will like it even more. But no, I'm getting political now. No, it's all silly business. Ultimately, look, I don't care if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, and you shouldn't care. You should just think about Bitcoin as at the core, what it does to society, what benefits it does have, and ignore the political sided stuff that's saying, oh, it's bad for the environment just because of X, Y, and Z. And look at the sources where you're getting that information from, and what they usually would say about anything that could be seen as a right wing or a left wing source, right? Because it happens on both sides. I've seen articles from right wing sort of publications that say that it's a socialist tool to democratize money, socialize money, and that's a stupid thing, because it's true and it's not in a way, right? The fact is that it's apolitical. So I don't know, keep the politics out of it, and let's just call Bitcoin for what it is, which is Ninja Ultrasound hard money.
It would be pretty interesting if Congress passes that bill banning senators and representatives from trading in stocks, but they leave open some kind of a crypto loophole, and they just spend the rest of their days trading in crypto under the table with the insider information. Ben, Ark, your thoughts? Is Bitcoin left wing, right wing? Will all the politicians adopt it?
I mean, this is why I became a little bit more vocal a few years ago, because I definitely saw like a lean to the right, and it kind of annoyed me because it's apolitical, everyone can benefit from it, no rulers, people power, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, well, I'm a lefty and big, so that's why I felt like I needed to kind of raise my hand up and try and make some balance there, and make it less. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like Bitcoin, ultimately, the protocol is apolitical, and it's always going to be apolitical. But you can create a culture within Bitcoin, and at that point, because Bitcoin there weren't many Bitcoin, less Bitcoiners, it wasn't as well spread. So you can create a culture which then represents it as being this leaning in this direction or leaning in that direction. So now I'm seeing within Bitcoin there's much more of a kind of healthy balance. I think as well, like when Bitcoin's sort of first impression was about kind of trading and making money, they're all things which kind of appeal to the libertarian ANCAP, but the greed aspect for a lefty socialist type it's not something which really appeals to them, and it kind of turns them off, and the people who are attracted to that, they're turned off by that kind of group of people. But then obviously you go beyond that, and you've got like this, monetary commons, which is owned and regulated by the community as a whole. Because obviously we're on the left, we've been looking at how to decentralize, socialize decision making for hundreds of years. So it's very exciting for people on the left as well. I thought this article was very poorly written. So I'm very much an advocate of, yes, it makes better forms of private capital allocation, but it is a monetary commons, so there is balance there for left and right. But I thought this article was a bit kind of rose tinted, like when he was talking about Bitcoin mining creating all these jobs in middle America, and it's like, well, no, a Bitcoin mine is designed to be manned by like one or two very tired techies who just have to make sure that the machines don't burst into flames. Yes, there are some jobs where you initially set these things up, but not that many jobs. And then there was the whole, you can use it for sending value, for subsidizing, like, green renewable energy capture, which I think is kind of a bit of a murky area of research. Like for a miner to be profitable, it has to be on a lot of the time. So it's not like you can just put it on, flick it on, when your windmills aren't serving the grid, for example. So the article itself, I didn't really read the article itself, but I do like the fact that he's saying, yes, it's for Bitcoin is for everybody. And I do think in the US as well, I think this drug thing's kind of come at a good time, in that, yes, people think it can be used by drug dealers. Yes, people could think it can be used by a political leaning of somebody, which they don't agree with. But I think ultimately, like, more and more people are normies, as we said before, like they're starting to understand that it doesn't care, like it's ambivalent, like whoever wants to use it can use it. I've noticed that a lot in the way people talk about Bitcoin. Politicians talk about Bitcoin now in the US, that it's very much they've accepted that it's here, it's going to stay here with us, and now they just kind of need to adapt the way they do things to work with it or around it or whatever. So yeah, it's I agree with the article, but I don't like the article.